All right, time to put UFC 259 officially to bed. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani. I hope you're doing well. Whether it's morning, nighttime, afternoon, I appreciate you joining us. You know, I've been doing these post-fight wrap-ups, roundtables, whatever you want to call them, for a very long time, over 10 years now. I don't think I've ever done one alone, but as you can see, I am flying solo today. No one's here. No Mark, no Brett, no Chael, no DC, no one. I'm all alone. But I said, hey, we need to talk. We need to talk after a card like that. That was special stuff. 3 title fights, a lot happened. So I'll give you a quick little rundown, quick little recap, and of course on Monday's DC and Helwani, we will go a lot more in depth. All right, let's start with the top. And still, Jan Blachowicz, he is still the reigning defending UFC light heavyweight champion. He defeats Israel Adesanya via unanimous decision. Let me get the scorecards for you here. He won 49-46, 49-45, 49-45. Now, I scored it 3 rounds to 2 for Jan Blachowicz. I gave Izzy the first, I gave Jan the second, Izzy the third, Jan the fourth and fifth. I did not give him any 10-8s. I guess maybe one of those last 2 rounds you could have scored it a 10-8, but quite frankly, felt like it was a bit of a stretch. But you know what? Who cares? Ultimately, the right guy won. It wasn't controversial. No controversy whatsoever. Early on, it looked as though it was a fight that was going to take place on the feet. As the fight went on, especially in the championship rounds, Jan started to use his size, took Izzy down repeatedly, and not only did he take him down, he kept him down and he inflicted damage, most importantly, because as we all know, a takedown, doesn't really do much if you don't do anything with it. But in this case, he got him down, kept him down, and inflicted damage. So in my opinion, I didn't see anyone scored in favor of Izzy Adesanya. I thought it was pretty clear. 3 rounds to 2. You could even make a case, I think, for 4 rounds to 1 for Jan Blachowicz. And in the end, the decision to not bulk up and be as big as Jan ultimately cost Adesanya. So big takeaways from that. Obviously, Jan deserves our respect. In my opinion, he's the rightful owner of that light heavyweight title. I thought Dominick Cruz beat Jon Jones last February, and then of course Jan beats Dominick Cruz. He's no paper champion. He's, to me, he's, in all honesty, I know officially he's not the lineal champ, but I consider him a lineal champ. It's all well and good at 205, and now hopefully he'll get a little more respect. He'll be pushed, he'll be promoted, he'll be viewed as the king of the light heavyweights. And I loved what he had to say afterwards. Glover Teixeira is getting the next shot. Glover should have gotten the next shot after he beat Dominick Cruz. They went for this big money fight. Okay, Glover was in attendance. He weighed in yesterday, got a little bit of coin as well. But that's the fight to make. Glover's getting up there in age. He's looked very good as of late. 41, make that fight. Everyone's happy. And kudos to Jan Blachowicz for saying Glover's going to get the shot later on this year. Loved everything about what he said afterwards, how he conducts himself, the fight itself. I mean, the guy is just an absolute treasure. He's a great representative for the sport. Polish fans, European fans, MMA fans should be very proud of him. Now, as far as Izzy is concerned, look, as he said afterwards, he dared to be great, right? He dared to be great, and sometimes when you dare to be great, things don't go your way. Unfortunately for him, tonight didn't go his way. But he took a chance, he moved up, it was a calculated risk, calculated decision, not to bulk up, to take this fight when you're on a roll, winning 9 in a row in the UFC, 20-0 overall in MMA, and it didn't work out. But if you ask me, his stock doesn't take too much of a hit. Yes, has he lost his first fight in MMA? Sure. But is the aura of invincibility gone? I mean, if you've been following his career prior to MMA, you've seen him get knocked out. Alex Pereira, Glory Kickboxing. Like we saw it. We saw him get knocked out. He didn't get knocked out tonight. He hung in there with the champ. Yes, he got out-muscled towards the end, but I don't feel like his stock drops considerably. Takes a momentary hit, sure, but I don't feel like he's, not worthy of any praise or any type of, accolades or anything like that. Quite frankly, it reminds me a lot of 2009, UFC 94. You had BJ Penn as the lightweight champion. He moved up to 170 pounds. He fought George St. Pierre, if you recall, in Las Vegas. He lost that fight, and size was a major factor. And what happened? He went down, and in his following 2 fights, he beat Kenny Florian rather convincingly, and then he beat Diego Sanchez in what I thought was his greatest performance ever as lightweight champion. And so the idea that his stock has dropped dramatically or that his aura of invincibility has taken such a hit that he will not be able to rebound and continue to do his thing at 185 is absolutely crazy. He could do the same sort of thing that BJ did. Quite frankly, he could do it longer than BJ did because he ended up losing the title shortly thereafter to Frankie Edgar. Who's next for Izzy, though? That's a big question. What I do know for sure is the Jon Jones fight is gone. And you'll recall, go back to September after he beat Paulo Costa. I said, do the Jon Jones fight now. Jon has nothing going on at heavyweight as we wait for that situation to play out. Izzy has nothing going on at 185. It's the moneyest of the money fights to make. Make it right now. They didn't make it, and I don't see a scenario where it happens anytime soon. So he'll stick around at 185, and there's no clear-cut number one contender at 185, but there are options that are about to play out. In the next 6 or so weeks, we're about to find a number one contender. On March 20th, we have Derek Brunson and Kevin Holland. I'd love to see Kevin Holland fight Izzy. I keep wanting to say Adesanya. It's Adesanya these days. You get the point, the last style bender. I would love to see that fight. I would love it, especially if Kevin Holland wins, of course. Then in April, we have Robert Whittaker and Paulo Costa. Love that. Darren Till, Marvin Vettori. I wouldn't mind seeing Vettori, Izzy too. Darren Till obviously is someone that Izzy has had as his eye on. So there are options. Maybe not right now a clear-cut one. Obviously, Whittaker would make a lot of sense if he would beat Paulo Costa. But come mid-April, I think we'll have a number one contender, and we'll probably see Izzy back maybe, late summer, early fall, something like that. He likes to be active. Told me on Monday of last week he wanted to fight 4 or 5 times. Of course, he was expecting to win, but in the end, he doesn't get that second title. He doesn't get a chance to make history. But I'll tell you, all the light heavyweights are probably super happy that the belt stayed with Jan because that keeps the division rolling, and the middleweights are probably very happy that Izzy is coming back down so they can get a chance at his belt. So that's what happened in the main event. Let's talk about the co-main event now. Amanda Nunes, once again, flawless. 12th win in a row. This time she defeats Megan Anderson. It was never even close. She submitted her in the first round. The official time, what was it, 2:03, triangle armbar. It was a beautiful, beautiful submission. Rocked her early, took her down to the ground. I mean, just fantastic stuff. Her first sub, by the way, since UFC 200 against Miesha Tate. Unfortunately for Megan Anderson, most of our fears as far as how this fight would play out, played out. Just a little too stiff. Doesn't have the finesse, doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the ability to evade those kind of punches from someone like Amanda, who's just oozing with confidence right now. She looks fantastic. You look at her, you see a superstar. You see someone who believes in herself, who is just kind of feeling herself. I mean, she is just so good, and we all knew that Amanda Nunes was great. Now we see Mama Nunes is even better. That's a scary thought. And so the big question is now, what do you do with the 145-pound division, right? This was Megan Anderson's last fight. I would love to see them re-sign her. We know that Felicia Spencer and Danielle Wolfe are fighting May 22nd, so they're not getting rid of it as of now. But clearly for Amanda Nunes, as of right this moment, there's nothing going on at 145 pounds. That's for damn sure. So she needs to forget about that weight class. Don't give up the belt or anything, but the days of fighting at 145, at least for now, probably, on hold. You got to go back to 135. And then the question is, who's there at 135? Well, I just found out tonight that the Juliana Pena versus Holly Holm fight has been scrapped. They were supposed to fight on May 8th. Holm is out of the fight. Pena has been trying to get this fight against Amanda Nunes for quite some time. She's coming off a nice performance. She's ranked 6th. You look at the top 5, there's not a lot going on there right now for Amanda. I say you try to get Amanda to come back relatively quickly. There's a big hole in that May slot. I mean, right now there's no title. I don't know if you can headline a pay-per-view with Amanda Nunes versus someone like Juliana Pena, but you can you could certainly have a title fight and another one on that card as well. So that's a fight that I think that they should consider. There's not a lot of people out there who are, raising their hand to fight Amanda Nunes. Juliana Pena is. She's now free. I say you make that fight and you see how it all plays out. All right, so that's the co-main event story. Now let's talk about what happened in the third title fight of this card. Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. You probably heard by now, Aljamain Sterling wins via DQ. It happened in the 4th round, 4:29 of the 4th round. Petr Yan, in my opinion, was winning this fight. You can make a case 30-27, certainly 29-28. I think one judge, as they revealed the scorecards afterwards, had it for Sterling up until this point. I didn't see that. To me, it started out as a Sterling fight. First round is the one that you could probably give to Sterling, but then 2 and 3, in my opinion, and even 4 was going in the direction of Petr Yan. But unfortunately, towards the end of the 4th round, He nailed Aljamain Sterling with an illegal knee. There was no controversy there whatsoever. That was an illegal knee. It hit him flush. I mean, the referee even warned him not to throw it. Apparently his corner said, I don't know what's going on with the whole corner thing. I don't speak Russian. The bottom line is it was intentional. He saw it. It was clear that Aljo was down. Now, did he understand what the ref said? Who knows? We know that Petr understands English a little bit, but could he hear? I don't know. It's hard to speculate. In the end, it was reminiscent of Anthony Smith versus John Jones. Jones hit Smith with the illegal knee. In that case, Anthony Smith said, I'm going to continue to fight. I said afterwards, he did himself a disservice by doing so, but he did the honorable thing in many people's eyes. He continued to fight and ultimately lost the fight. In this case, Aljo said he couldn't fight, he couldn't continue. You saw him, he was dazed, he was confused, he was probably concussed, he was emotional. Didn't seem like he knew exactly what was going on at the time, so they called off the fight. And as a result, Aljamain Sterling is the brand new UFC bantamweight champion. First time in UFC history that a title changes hands via DQ. I mean, I guess you could make a case for, yeah, it's a DQ, but should the title change hands as a result of a DQ? I mean, this is now a bigger conversation. I don't hate that idea, by the way. It seems weird that the title changed hand that way, but at the end of the day, Petr threw and landed a very illegal strike. It appeared to be intentional. The rules state that's a DQ, and the rules state if we're in that portion of the fight, past the third round, championship rounds, you got to give it to the guy who suffered the blow. And so as a result, Aljamain Sterling is the champion. Bizarre stuff. I feel for Aljo. He didn't want to win that way. Quite honestly, I feel for Petr. He was fighting a really good fight, and I know he didn't want to do. I mean, sometimes you have these lapses of judgment in the middle of a fight. It's a really crummy situation. So what I would do is run it back immediately. Once Aljo is okay, of course, you run that one back. You do TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. Perhaps Cody Garbrandt versus Jose Aldo, perhaps Dominick Cruz versus Jose Aldo, who we'll talk about in a second. But the top two fights at 135, in my opinion, have to be Aljo versus Yan. You have to do that fight again. You have to run it back. The heat will be great. The storylines will be great. I think Aljo deserves another crack at Yan, and I think Yan deserves another crack at Aljo. So do that fight for the bantamweight title, and then you got to do Corey Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. That's the fight to make. The winner of that fight fights for the belt. That's what I would do for the bantamweight title. Number one contender fight. So, a little controversial, ugly finish, but MMA, as Gus Johnson once said, these things happen in MMA. All right, let's go to the next fight on the card to talk about Islam Makhachev. Amazing performance, amazing win over Drew Dober. I thought it would be closer. Clearly, I was wrong. Islam Makhachev is the real deal. Protege of one Khabib Nurmagomedov. That was impressive stuff. He wins via submission. They called it an arm triangle. Looked like a Von Flu. Looked like some kind of, I mean, it was special stuff. The shoulder pressure, I mean, just incredible. His strength, his takedowns, his ground and pound. People called it boring. What the heck there? What are you watching? I mean, okay, fine. It's not, flipping around and flying knees, but that is sublime. That is athleticism. That is power. To me, that is special. Now the question is, who are they going to get to fight this man? I threw out the idea of Charles Oliveira because if you look at the lightweight division right now, top of the division, they want to do Conor versus Poirier. They want to do Gaethje versus Chandler. All right, now you look at the rest of the division, like who's Oliveira going to face? He's on the outside looking in. If I'm Oliveira, who's won 8 in a row, by the way, Islam with the second longest winning streak in the division, 7 in a row, I'm probably not taking that fight. I'm trying to, play my cards the right way. What about Tony Ferguson? We never got to see Tony Ferguson versus Islam Makhachev. Tony Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov. Why not the protege versus Ferguson? Maybe not the best fight for Ferguson right now. Maybe RDA, or what about the one that, has been calling out both Islam and Khabib for years? What about Kevin Lee? Where does he fit into all of this? Why not that fight? Kevin Lee's coming back. I would love to see it happen. All I know is that Islam deserves a big fight now. He is a legit top 5, top 8 guy. DC was right. Not that I doubted him, but he is ready right now. He could beat any of those top guys. Now, those top guys aren't going to fight him because he was ranked like 13th or 14th, so he's got to inch his way closer to them. But he is that darn good. We forgot about how good he was because he hadn't fought since 2019. But Islam is that darn good. I have all the respect in the world for Drew Dober. And to do that to Drew Dober was amazing. Now I want to see him against a guy like Oliveira, like Ferguson, like RDA, like Kevin Lee. Those are the names that come to mind. Alexander Rakic, Thiago Santos, maybe not the fight that we thought it was going to be in terms of excitement, but a dominant win for Rakic. still a player at 205, gets his brown belt even though he didn't really do any jiu-jitsu. Impressive stuff. Looking forward to what's next for him. Unfortunately for Santos, another defeat. That's now 3 in a row for the man who went toe-to-toe with Jon Jones not that long ago. Couple other quick notes to mention. Dominick Cruz picks up his first win since UFC 199 in 2016. Solid win over Casey Kenny. Scored some big takedowns, did some damage on the ground, looked good on his feet, the movement. I didn't think, you can make a case for Kenny winning that fight. One judge gave it to Kenny. I had it 29-28 for Dom. A fight against Aldo would be fun. A rematch against a Cody Garbrandt, a Rob Font type of fight, that would be fun. In my opinion, it was the right move to fight a guy like Kenny. Not quite the upper echelon, but get a win, get your mojo back, get your confidence back, your feet wet, and now let's see how far this new Dominick Cruz can go. So shout out to the Dominator, who 11 years ago, I believe it was 11 or 12 years ago, on this night 12 years ago, he won the WC title against Brian Bowles. How about that? 12 years later, he comes back and wins his first fight since 2016. Other nice performances. Big win for the underdog, Kyler Phillips. Big win for Askar Askarov. Unfortunately, he missed weight, so I don't know if he gets a title shot off this one, but that's a big-time win over the former title contender, Joseph Benavidez. Kai Kara-France with a fantastic knockout over Rogerio Bontorin. A little bit of a weird finish, but I think he's a player at 125, maybe a fight between Askarov and Kai Kara-France. Those guys are definitely guys to look out for at 125. Tim Elliott with a nice win over Jordan Espinoza. And then how about the early portion of this card? One finish after the next. Kennedy and Nzechukwu with a big win over Carlos Ulberg of CKB. Sean Brady continues to be undefeated with his big win over Jake Matthews. Nice submission win in the third round. Amanda Lemos over the Brazilian gangster Livinha Renato Souza. Orosh Medic, the doctor, with the big win over Alon Cruz, even though that went way too long, too much damage. And then, of course, Trevin Jones kicked things off with the big win, the TKO win over Mario Bautista. The first 5 fights on this card all came via finish. They all ended via finish. 15 fights total. They all remained on the card. Pretty impressive stuff. The biggest one, of course, Jan Blachowicz retaining the light heavyweight title. Probably going to go on to fight Glover Teixeira. Izzy, his quest for 2 titles, he stumbles, he falls short. He'll go back down to 185 and continue to do his thing there. We got a lot more to say about this card, a lot more to discuss. I need some time to digest it all. So I'll see you all back on Monday. Same time and place with my man DC. We'll break it all down, talk about the other news of the week. You know the drill by now. I just did the round table by myself. Maybe I don't need those jokers anymore. What do you say? I'm sure the YouTube commenters are going to love every bit of this. But for now, my friends, I am out of time. Thanks for watching our coverage all week long regarding all things 259. And by the way, next week, the train rolls along. We got Leon Edwards, the Tim Duncan of MMA, returning against Bilal Muhammad. Big time stuff. Important fight at welterweight. All right, I'm out of time. Thanks for watching. Good night. I'll see you on Monday.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.